The Hollow at Dusk. 1. The Inheritance. The letter arrived on a Thursday, written in a hand too elegant to belong to a solicitor. To Miss Catherine Gray, it began. Your uncle, Mr. Alastair Hargrove, has passed. His estate, Hargrove Hollow, is now yours by blood and right. You are advised to come at once. Catherine stared at the paper until the words seemed to breathe. She had no uncle, no relatives at all that she knew of. Her parents had died when she was 10, and she had grown up in boarding schools where her surname was little more than a record in the register. And yet, the letter knew her name. The estate lay in the north, on the edge of a moor where mist clung low and rivers cut black through the heather. The journey was long, but the pull was stronger. By Saturday, she stood at the gates of Hargrove Hollow. The house loomed from the earth as if it had grown there rather than been built. Towers crooked with age, windows heavy with grime, walls blackened with moss. Crows circled the chimneys in a restless gyre. The caretaker, a stooped woman with eyes like river stones, met her at the door. You've come, she said as if expecting her. He said you would. Catherine opened her mouth to ask what she meant, but the woman had already turned, her keys jangling in the silence of the hall. 2. The house. Inside, the hollow was larger than it appeared, its corridors twisting like veins through stone. Shadows clung to corners even in daylight. The air smelled faintly of iron, like blood rubbed into old wood. The caretaker introduced herself as Mrs. Elkins. She spoke little, her words clipped, as though afraid to say too much. At dinner, which consisted of bread gone stale and broth gone sour, Catherine asked, Did my uncle leave no instructions? Mrs. Elkins stirred her bowl. The hollow gives its own. That night, Catherine explored the library. The books were not the kind she had expected, no novels or histories, but journals bound in cracked leather. Some bore her uncle's name. Others had no name at all, only dates scrawled across the spines. Opening one at random, she found the words written in a hand jagged with haste. The hollow listens. It breathes through the walls. It wants an heir. Catherine closed the book with a shudder. She told herself she would leave in the morning. But when she woke, her trunk was gone from the hall. 3. The vanishing. She searched every corridor, every room. The trunk was nowhere. Mrs. Elkins, when asked, only shook her head. There is no leaving now. What do you mean? That trunk was mine. The caretaker's gaze fixed on her with a terrible stillness. The hollow keeps what enters. A cold certainty pressed into Catherine's bones. Over the following days, she discovered the house altered itself. A door that had led to the garden opened onto a stairwell the next day. The dining room stretched longer each evening, its table growing until she could no longer see the end of it. At night, the walls whispered. She could not make out words, but the sound pressed against her skull like voices heard underwater. On the 5th night, she woke to find someone had left a journal open on her bedside table. The entry read, Blood remembers. The hollow does not forget. She will come. 4. The portraits. The gallery hung with portraits, hundreds of them, each subject rendered in oil so lifelike their eyes followed her. Some bore her features. She traced one with her finger, a woman with her same sharp cheekbones, her same pale gray eyes, though painted 2 centuries ago. The plaque read, Eleanor Gray, 1792-1816. Another showed a girl no older than 12, with Catherine's mouth and brow, though her nameplate had been scratched away. At the far end of the gallery hung the largest portrait of all. A man sat in a chair of carved oak, his face half-shadowed, his eyes black pits. The plaque bore only one word. Hargrove. As she stared, she thought she saw his hand twitch. 5. The dream. That night, the dream came. She walked the moor under a moonless sky, the heather brittle under her feet. The hollow stood behind her, its windows glowing faintly like eyes. Ahead, a figure waited by the river. A man in a long coat, his face hidden by shadow. You came, he said. Who are you? Your blood. He extended his hand. The house remembers. It called you. Catherine stepped back. I never knew you. His voice deepened, fractured. You are mine. The river swelled, black water rising like a mouth to swallow her. She woke gasping, her sheets damp with something colder than sweat. At her bedside, the journal lay open again. The dream is the key. 6. The descent. The whispers grew stronger. They led her to a door she had not seen before, hidden behind a tapestry of woven thorns. The stairwell spiraled down into the earth, damp with stone. At the bottom lay a chamber. In its center, a pool of water black as ink, still and endless. Carved into the stone above it were words she did not recognize, though her tongue seemed to shape them of its own accord. Blood to water, water to stone, stone to hollow. She felt the pool breathe. Something vast and ancient moved beneath its surface, circling. Its presence pressed into her skull like a weight. When she staggered back, she saw the walls of the chamber were covered in names. Dozens, hundreds, each carved into the rock. Many were gray. Some were Hargrove. And one, at the very bottom, was hers. 7. The binding. She confronted Mrs. Elkins. What is this place? Why is my name? The caretaker's lips tightened. The hollow takes its air when the time comes. Always has. Always will. I won't be part of this. You already are. Mrs. Elkins reached into her apron and drew out a small object. A locket. She pressed it into Catherine's palm. Inside was a miniature portrait, her mother's face. Catherine's breath caught. She lived here too, Mrs. Elkins said softly. But she ran. Thought she could escape. The hollow never forgave her. The locket fell from Catherine's hand. 8. The last night. The storm came at dusk, rattling the windows until the glass splintered. The hollow shuddered with it, beams groaning, walls bleeding damp. The whispers rose into voices, clear at last. Catherine, blood of blood, come to us. She ran through the corridors, every door slamming open ahead of her, guiding her back to the chamber below. The pool churned, water slopping over its rim. The figure from her dream stood beside it now, tall, cloaked, his face hidden. You cannot refuse, he said. His voice was many voices, her uncle's among them. This house was never built. It was born. And you belong to it. Catherine's legs trembled. The water surged higher. She whispered, no. But the hollow whispered louder. The last thing she saw was her own reflection in the pool, rippling, her eyes blackening, her mouth twisting into a smile that was not her own, before the water pulled her under. 9. After. The storm passed. Mrs. Elkins walked the corridors of the hollow, her candle flame steady. She paused in the gallery, gazing at the far wall. A new portrait hung there now. Catherine Gray, rendered in oil, her face serene, her eyes deep pools of shadow. The caretaker bowed her head. The hollow had its air again. And beyond the moor, in the villages where the mist carried whispers, people said that if you walked too near Hargrove Hollow at night, you could hear a woman's voice from the windows, calling soft as a tide. The house is not mine. I am its. Be so kind and like the video, and remember if you want to hear more stories like this, subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell to get notified when I upload.